Hey guys, welcome to my channel, and this is gonna be a very short, quick video. So stay with me till the end. So, what exactly is going on? See, Marco Rubio, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, just a couple of weeks ago, when he was holding his silence on the death of three Indian seafarers who actually died because of the American strikes on a cargo ship where there were Indian workers. He was quiet, he didn't say a word or anything, not a single word. But today, all of a sudden, he is heaping praise after Prime Minister Modi and President Trump met at G7, where President Trump was like, oh, Prime Minister Modi is this, Prime Minister Modi is that, at G7. So now it's Marco Rubio's turn. Marco Rubio is all of a sudden he's saying that, oh, we are enormous fans of Prime Minister Modi and what he has done, this, that, how India is a global power, and all that good stuff he's saying. So let's hear this out and then we'll talk about it some more. Okay. So no, hear this. Okay.
We're enormous fans of Prime Minister Modi and what he's done. I mean, he leads a country that's making incredible gains economically, and is really coming into its own as sort of a global power, a country that's increasingly accounted for on decisions being made on the global stage. We're enormous fans of Prime Minister Modi and what he's done. I mean, he leads a country that's making incredible gains economically, and is really coming into its own as sort of a global power, a country that's increasingly accounted for on decisions being made on the global stage.
So what exactly is going on here? Why all of a sudden the whole entire tone and tune has changed? See, what exactly happened? It has more to do with the G7 than anything else. Okay, when the gang went over there in G7, India was not offered the G7 membership, but India was given the whole entire seat at the G7 in the decision making process. And during the whole G7 summit, Prime Minister Modi actually was the only world leader who actually said certain things very straightforward. And they were directed towards the United States. And those things were that you got to be very responsible power, and you got to open up all the strait and everything so that world trade can start function properly. The maritime sea routes and all, they should be open. You cannot just held hostage the global economy the way you want to. And also, the life of seafarers matter. They have nothing to do with the war, whatever they are doing. Those were some very clear cut points Prime Minister Modi actually made in front of President Trump. No other world leader didn't even mentioned it. Okay. Now, you have to understand one more thing, that people who run G7, people who run United Nations, and the other multilateral institutions like BRICS and all that, there are certain powers that run certain things. Now, in G7, back to the G7, G7 has already decided who's going to run the show from here on. So what you're going to see going forward is that you will see India's involvement in G7 more and more. When President Trump actually said during the G7 bilateral meeting with Prime Minister Modi, when he said that, oh, India is in G7, we have G7, then we have G2 coming up, then we have this coming up, G20 coming up, all that thing he was saying. Those things were being said for a reason, because first thing first is the European Union has already made up its mind that where they are headed and where they are going. And that is towards India. They're not going anywhere else. Now, when you go read the research papers, okay, there is a research body in Columbia University. Okay, Columbia University is doing research on IMEC, and their IMEC research is basically finding out that India is going to lead the whole entire IMEC all the way. And IMEC is not just going to be from India to Europe and all that. In fact, just Few days ago, Prime Minister Modi actually made this statement, a very clear-cut statement that IMEC should be extended further. It should be branched out into Africa. Then branches of IMEC should also extend into Latin America, then other places as well. So he's saying that IMEC should be global. IMEC should not just be limited to one multimodal corridor. So what we are saying here is that it's a G7 from controlling the oil. Now G7 is going to shift towards something else, and one of those things will be that G7's leadership is going to change from the top. Where US used to make the decision after some point, that decision making is going to shift. That decision making is going to shift towards India. And I had said this thing around January or February time frame, that in one of my videos I said that thing, that region in the Middle East, from that point to Indian Ocean to all the way to Indo-Pacific and all that will be controlled by certain countries, and those countries will be following the India's lead. I'm not saying that India is going to just control everything like United States or something. No, it's gonna be a leadership. It's going to be more about managing your own zone and more so of your own domain, and maintaining the strategic autonomy and the national sovereignty. Under that umbrella, this whole thing will be done. And G7 has already made that decision. Majority of the G7 countries that are there right now, they're all European countries, and they have already recognized that the old order is dead. And who said that? You have to understand this. The old order is dead was said by Mark Carney. What Mark Carney was saying, Mark Carney was delivering the message of Canada's Prime Minister, that is. Okay, he was delivering the message by the globalists that, hey, it's time to kill this. We have had enough of this. Let's kill this. What does that mean? Like I said, that G7 leadership is going to shift towards India. More so, under the India's leadership, other countries are going to follow. And I won't be actually surprised that India may be offered G7 full membership too. But India is not going to do that. Accept it, simply because India's commitment is towards the global south. Okay, so this is why. Otherwise, India would have been offered G7 membership. Okay, but India was inducted into the decision making body of G7, meaning that Prime Minister Modi was not there just for photo shoots and all that. Okay, just to show his face. No, he was there for a purpose, for a reason, that is the decision making. All right, and that's exactly how the global order is changing. And I said this thing 2-3 years ago, that Persian Gulf to Indian Ocean, all that will be under India's leadership. That's how things are gonna play out. And if you look into it, IMEC will be integrated into INSTC as well. Why? Because European Union, sooner or later, European Union is going to come to terms with Russia as well, that they cannot defeat Russia, and it's no point in actually doing all this. And it's also possible that India may have a role to play in it. Okay, but why I'm talking about it? Because IMEC will be extended into INSTC, and then also, if you look into it, then Pakistanis are also trying to get involved into INSTC as well. Okay, so Pakistanis getting involved into INSTC simply means that they're done with Gwadar, their CPEC and all that. All right, so meaning that all these signs are available, signs are visible to us. Only thing is that when all this is gonna materialize into something concrete. But right now, in the beginning, few things are established. Number one is that in that whole entire region, India's leadership is accepted now, and the global powers now recognize that world cannot move forward without India's decision making. So that's gonna happen. That's number one thing. That's in G7. Then comes BRICS. Now, China, just recently, China also said that we should India and China should sort out all their differences and national security issues and all that under the BRICS, and now don't take it outside. Which means what China was basically is pointing out was that let's not resort to Quad or some other group. Let's stick to our BRICS and do all that. So China is also, when a powerful country like China or US or somebody, they when they start to come to the negotiating table and they start to talk about things, so let's talk. So that in itself is a very simple sign that they know that the enforcement is not going to work. That's why people talk when they cannot enforce it. Okay, so China is also out. Now, why India is not going to take the G7 membership, I talked about that as well, is because India's commitment it towards the global south. Global south is one thing that India can never let go. But why is that though? Isn't it beneficial for India to just simply be like G7, go to Africa, exploit other countries, other African countries, take their natural resources, but don't give them anything in return, leave them poor. And from time to time, if some leader comes into Africa, tries to do something good, then just simply take them out, do some sort of, disruption or instability or something or something. So isn't that gonna be beautiful for India? No. Thing is that what India is doing is that India is playing a long game. Prime Minister Modi, he actually in one of his speeches, he said that he's laying the foundation for the next 1,000 years. Okay, next 1,000 year foundation simply means what? Next 1,000 year foundation means that you are going to be working with Africa. Okay, because Africa's military age population is gonna be for like 23 or 24 years for next 2 centuries. Actually, that's how young people are there in Africa. Okay, and by the end of this century, Chinese young population will be gone. US young population will be gone. In fact, most of the Western countries will be turning old. So unless they come up with some sort of system or something, but other than that, that's not gonna happen. Now Africa, on the other hand, is a whole different ball game. So what we are going to see is that there will be battle for Africa, that who can actually gain more influence in Africa. Why? Because of the younger population. So younger population meaning more productivity, more consumption, more technology, more economic flourishment. That's what it is. So what you will see is that China shifting its manufacturing to Africa, US shifting manufacturing to Africa, and India shifting manufacturing to Africa too. Why? Because India has always been a country that wants to stay 1 or 2 steps ahead in this type of things. A dependency, vulnerability, and solution consequences. That's the global rule. That's the rule of thumb for any geopolitical system. That how do you do it? It's how do I say, what was it? Dependency. Yes, dependency, vulnerability, solution, and consequences. So for India also, it's going to be the same way. So India is going to be in Africa too, and for that, India has to build that relationship with entire Africa from the get-go. Right now, Africa is the symbol of global south, and India wants to stay the leader of that global south because it helps you, simply because when you're leading global south, it means that you can trade in national currencies, you can actually work with them, provide them certain things, certain help. It's very, because they see eye to eye. You see eye to eye. All these developing countries have been through colonization, they have seen the exploitation and all that. So there are certain connections. Okay, so what India is going to do is that India is going to build that relationship with Africa from the get-go. That's why India will not take any G7 membership. India is fine where it is in BRICS, but Like Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, he said that BRICS and G7 should work together. It should not that BRICS should be anti-G7 and G7 should be anti-BRICS. So what Prime Minister Modi did over there in G7, even though India is chair of BRICS this year, that is what actually it resonates with what President Emmanuel Macron was asking for. So I am still actually keen to see how this is gonna turn, how this is gonna transcend into the BRICS summit. Though, will India involve or invite France or Italy as an observer state in the BRICS? We don't know that, but observer or as a guest. If Russians see that yeah, it's gonna help, then they will. Chinese already have committed that yeah, we will support India BRICS chairmanship regardless. So Chinese also don't see anything wrong in it. So let's see. But if that happens, then you know what's going on. Okay, regardless. So this is it for this video, guys, and I will talk to you guys in another video. Take care.